Let's bring in former U.S. ambassador to Russia, now director of the Institute for International Studies at Stanford, and an NBC News international affairs analyst, Michael McFaul. He is in Geneva at the site of the summit.
Yeah, Mr. Ambassador, thanks so much for being with us. As one who knows Vladimir Putin so well that you have been barred from going into his country, why don't you give us your thoughts about what are the tools left in the toolbox for Joe Biden to push back on Vladimir Putin?
Well, great to be with you all at a decent hour, by the way, for me, because usually it's very early in the morning in California when I'm with you. A couple of things. First of all, you've got to contain and engage at the same time. That's my view. So I think it's right for President Biden to meet with Vladimir Putin today and try to figure out if there's a limited agenda that they can cooperate on. And strategic stability talks, arms control, that's the top of the list. Maybe Syria might be a breakthrough as well here. If you look at the delegation that the Russians brought, they have their Syrian chief advisor in the meeting. That's a good sign to me. But President Biden has to be careful too. David said very rightly, what does Putin want? He wants to be respected. Well, respect, in my view, should be earned. You don't just give it away. And I think he has to be very careful not to be too respectful. I don't like the word worthy adversary, by the way. He's not worthy. He invaded Crimea. He hacked our elections. He supported Mr. Assad in Syria. Those are not worthy actions. So I think he has to engage when he can, and then homework after Geneva is develop a grand strategy, a multiple-pronged strategy for containing Putin's belligerent behavior around the world, including here in Europe and in the United States. In other words, it's a lot like the Soviet era. Engage when you can and contain when you must.
So, Mike, this is David. I'm just wondering whether you think that Biden has already given too much away with the comment about worthy adversary, other atmospherics first. And second, the Biden people say that their goal fundamentally is a stable and predictable relationship with Russia. And I wonder whether you think that's even possible.
Well, they do say that, and they say that because they don't want to deal with Russia. They don't want any crises. They want to focus on the domestic agenda. They want to focus on China, and I understand that logic, right? No more headaches from Russia. If I have to predict, I don't think it'll work. Because, Vladimir Putin wants to be in the mix. The buildup of those soldiers that he had in Ukraine was a bit of a station identification to say, no, you're not going to freeze me in place. I'm going to be a player here. And therefore, I think they've just got to be careful with that language. Engage, be respectful. You don't want some shouting match here in Geneva. But you also don't want to sound too chummy. And the word normalization also is a word that I just don't think is appropriate for U.S.-Russian relations at this moment in time.
Ambassador McFaul, good morning. It's Willie Geist. You noted a couple of things yesterday about just the protocol of this event. First of all, the fact that Putin is showing up first, Biden second. You thought that was important. Also, the press conference. A lot of people wish that there had been a joint press conference so that Joe Biden, the president, could have the moment that Donald Trump passed on in Helsinki to call out publicly in front of the world Vladimir Putin for some of the things he's done. You did not like the idea of a joint press conference. Why not?
Well, first, it's great that Putin has to come first because he's always late. I remember a summit I was with President Obama in Los Cabos in 2012. He was 40 minutes late for that meeting. So that's a coup for the protocol team for Biden. By the way, another footnote, Willie, the fact that they have note takers in the room. Secretary Blinken and Foreign Minister Lavrov, I think that's smart, too.
That's
on the press conference, that's a change, exactly, Mika. We want somebody to be taking notes. And you also, just to be serious about it, you want somebody in the room who knows the portfolio in case Putin goes into some crazy esoteric thing. And he most certainly did that to President Trump. I'm going to quiz you all. Does anybody know what an MLAT treaty is? My guess is no. But Putin brought that up with President Trump. And had he had Fiona Hill in the room, she could have answered that question for him instead of the mistake that he later made in the press conference about that. On the joint press conference, I think it's a mistake for two reasons. One, I don't think Putin is worthy to be on the stage with President Biden. I really don't. And to have that imagery of two equal leaders, I think sends the wrong message. And two, as you were talking about earlier, remember, Putin's not constrained by the facts. He says whatever he wants. He plays the whataboutism game. He compares things that are not comparable. And, you know, I see it on my Twitter feed fairly often. It says, don't feed the trolls. So why feed this troll? Why give him that chance to play the whataboutism game? I just don't think that is in America's national interest. I think the president should speak directly to the American people after his meeting. I think that was a wise decision.